Hey, if you're over 60, or if you've got a parent, a grandparent, or a neighbor who is, stop scrolling right now, because what I'm about to tell you could decide whether they're still allowed to drive next year. There's a wave of stories flying around social media claiming the DVLA is about to strip millions of older drivers of their licenses overnight. People are panicking. Some are saying it starts at 60, others are saying 70. Some are even throwing around the word ban like it's a done deal. So today, we're going to cut through all of that noise, separate what's actually confirmed from what's still just a proposal, and walk through exactly what you need to do to protect your license, your independence, and your peace of mind. Stick with me to the end because I'm also going to give you a simple checklist you can use this week to make sure you're never caught out. Let's start with the basics because a lot of the fear going around right now comes from people not knowing how the current system actually works. Under the rules that have been in place for years, every driver in Great Britain aged 17 to 69 renews their photo card license every 10 years, the same as anyone else. Nothing about your age changes that process until you hit 70. Once you turn 70, your full license entitlement expires, and from that point on, you have to renew every 3 years for as long as you keep driving. That renewal isn't automatic. You have to fill in a form, either online through the government website or by post using a form usually sent to you in the mail a few months before your birthday. As part of that renewal, you make what's called a self-declaration. You're confirming in writing that you're medically fit to drive, that your eyesight meets the legal standard, and that you don't have any condition that the DVLA needs to know about. Here's the part that trips people up. That eyesight standard isn't some vague guideline. The law says you must be able to read a car number plate made after September 2001 from a distance of 20 meters, wearing glasses or contact lenses if you need them for driving. 20 meters is roughly 5 car lengths. If you can't do that reliably, you are, legally speaking, not fit to be behind the wheel, and that applies whether you're 25 or 85. The difference for older drivers is simply that you're asked to confirm this more often, every 3 years instead of every 10. Now, on top of the eyesight rule, there's a much bigger legal duty that a lot of people either forget about or don't fully understand, and this is where the real risk sits, not in some new secret age-based ban. You are legally required to tell the DVLA if you develop a condition that could affect your ability to drive safely. This isn't limited to older drivers. It applies to everyone at any age. But naturally, the range of conditions that tend to show up more often as we get older, things like certain heart conditions, diabetes that needs insulin, epilepsy, stroke-related effects, or significant vision changes such as cataracts or glaucoma, means this rule ends up mattering a lot more once you're past 60 or 70. So what happens if you don't report something you're supposed to report? This is where people genuinely do need to pay attention because the consequences are real and they're not new. They've simply been getting enforced more strictly. If you fail to notify the DVLA of a relevant medical condition, you can be fined up to £1,000. That's already serious enough on its own, but it gets worse. If you're involved in an accident and it later comes out that you had an undeclared condition that could have affected your driving, your car insurance could be treated as invalid. Insurers can refuse to pay out, which means you could be personally liable for every penny of the damage, to your own vehicle, to someone else's car, to property, or worse. In some cases, this kind of situation can also lead to prosecution and a driving ban that has nothing to do with your age and everything to do with the fact that the condition wasn't declared honestly in the first place. This is exactly why so much attention is now being placed on health declarations for older drivers. It's not that being over 65 automatically makes you unsafe. Plenty of drivers in their 70s and 80s are sharper, more cautious, and more responsible on the road than drivers a third of their age. The concern from the Department for Transport and the DVLA is about the honesty and completeness of self-reporting, especially as the number of older drivers on UK roads keeps climbing. There are now several million drivers over the age of 65 in Britain, and that number is only going up as people live longer and stay active for longer. That's a good thing, but it also means the system needs to keep pace. Now let's talk about what's actually changing, because this is where you need to be careful about separating fact from speculation. There is ongoing government discussion and in some cases formal consultation about tightening the rules around vision testing at renewal time. Right now, the eyesight check at 70 plus relies on self-declaration. You tick a box saying you meet the standard. What's being discussed is moving towards something more like proof, for example, requiring an optician's confirmation or a recent vision test certificate as part of the 3-yearly renewal, rather than just taking your word for it. If that comes in, it wouldn't ban anyone outright, but it would mean an extra step and potentially an extra appointment before your renewal goes through. There's also discussion around digital health declarations being built into the renewal process earlier. For drivers in their 50s and 60s, not as a mandatory medical exam, but as a more detailed digital questionnaire that flags up certain conditions for closer review. Again, this is not confirmed as locked-in law everywhere, and different sources are reporting different starting ages. Some say 55, some say 60, some say 65. That inconsistency itself tells you something important, which is that a lot of what's circulating online right now is speculation, rumor, or early stage proposals being reported as if they're already finalized nationwide policy. The one thing that is consistent across everything being discussed is the direction of travel. More digital tools, more detailed questions at renewal, closer data sharing between the DVLA, doctors, opticians, and even insurers, and stricter enforcement of the existing duty to declare. So what should you actually do right now today, regardless of which exact version of these proposals ends up becoming law? First, know your own renewal date. If you're 70 or approaching it, mark down when your 3-year renewal is due and don't wait for the reminder letter to arrive before you start thinking about it. Second, get your eyes tested. Most people over 60 are already eligible for free NHS eye tests, so there's no financial excuse to put this off. Go get it done, get written confirmation of the result, and keep that paperwork somewhere safe. If proof of a vision test does become a formal requirement, you'll already have exactly what you need. Third, if you have any condition, however minor it might feel, that could plausibly affect your driving, talk to your doctor about it honestly and consider whether the DVLA needs to know. This includes things people often don't think of as driving related, like sleep apnea, certain medications that cause drowsiness, or conditions affecting your reaction time or peripheral vision. It is always better to declare something and let the DVLA make an informed decision than to have it come out later after an accident, when the financial and legal consequences can be devastating. Fourth, if you're worried about your confidence behind the wheel rather than a specific medical issue, look into a voluntary mature driver assessment. These aren't tests you can fail in the way a driving test is. They're low-cost or free coaching sessions designed to refresh your skills, get you comfortable with newer road layouts like smart motorways, and build your confidence around modern vehicle technology such as lane assist systems. Many local council road safety teams and organizations like IAM Road Smart offer these, and they're specifically aimed at helping older drivers stay on the road safely and confidently for longer, not at pushing anyone off it. Fifth, and this one is simple, but people skip it constantly, use the official government website directly for anything to do with your license. Type it in yourself rather than clicking links from social media posts or messages forwarded from a relative. There is a lot of misinformation floating around at the moment, some of it from sites that look official but aren't, and some of it deliberately alarmist to generate clicks. The safest way to know exactly what applies to you and when is to check your own renewal status directly through the official government portal or by calling the DVLA directly if you're not comfortable online. I also want to say this clearly because I think it gets lost in all the panic. None of what's being discussed, confirmed, or proposed is about punishing people simply for getting older. A driving license for many older people isn't just convenience. It's the difference between full independence and relying on someone else for every appointment, every food shop, every visit to see family. The people working on these policy changes understand that. The stated goal, again and again across every serious source on this topic, is road safety through better information, not blanket restriction through age discrimination. Having a long-term health condition does not automatically disqualify you from driving. Millions of people drive perfectly safely every single day with diabetes, with treated epilepsy, with corrected vision problems, with all sorts of conditions that are simply managed and declared properly. The system is built to assess fitness to drive, not to assess your birth year. So here's your action plan in one sentence. Know your renewal date, get your eyesight checked now while it's free, declare any relevant health condition honestly, and check gov.uk directly rather than relying on rumors you saw shared in a group chat. Do those 4 things and you will be ahead of whatever final version of these rules actually lands, whether that's this year or further down the line. If this video helped clear up some of the confusion around what's actually happening with DVLA rules for older drivers, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button on my channel. I'm covering these kinds of practical, real-world updates regularly, the stuff that actually affects your day-to-day life, not just the headlines designed to scare you. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment if you've got a question about your own situation, and I'll see you in the next video.